When practicing resistance or reflecting on the ways and whys of such a practice, I believe it's nourishing and sustaining to have a relational balance of resistance and surrender where each supports the other. That's where we left off last week, and now we return to deepen into this exploration together. Have you sat back to back with a friend, leaning your weight into them and being leaned into in return with a mutual trust and awareness that allows you to both hold and be held simultaneously, effortlessly? This is a literal representation of practicing resistance and surrender in relational balance. Sometimes, at least for me, it is a real relief to begin an exploration of rich, metaphor-heavy territory with a literal understanding. And our bodies often provide just such a foundation, a tangible knowledge, a sensibility that we can turn and return to. If you've had this experience of physically leaning into one another, I invite you to take a moment, a breath, and remember that feeling. And if you've never tried this before, find a friend at the potluck after worship and give it a whirl. Mutual trust and awareness are going to be useful. It's been the sort of week where it's possible that many of us feel we've been resisting nonstop since we last gathered in this sanctuary. This pause we take in community each week is a form of surrender. Here we can lean into one another emotionally, metaphorically, and feel held, supported, comforted even by the weight that had seemed so heavy walking in and then disappears somehow for a moment at least once it's shared between us. It's a hard, scary time to be alive. For me, surrendering with you restores the mutual trust and awareness I require in order to continue to resist. To celebrate and honor the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his message, methods, and legacy has never felt more important to me than it does this year. When I asked myself why, I was reminded of a story that the character Leo McGarry tells on The West Wing. I'm not sure who else to credit. Anyway, it goes like this. Someone's walking down a street when they fall in a hole and the walls are so steep they can't get out. A doctor passes by and from the depths of the hole they shout up, "Hey doc, can you help me out?" The doctor writes a prescription and throws it in the hole. And then a priest comes along and from the hole someone shouts up, "I'm stuck down here, can you help me out?" And the priest offers a prayer and moves on. And then a friend walks by and hears shouting from the hole, "Hey friend, can you help me out?" And the friend immediately jumps down in the hole. And now the person who'd fallen in wondering at the wisdom of anyone jumping in after says, "What's wrong with you? Now we're both stuck down here." But the friend replies, "I've been down here before, and I know the way out." That's what I'm longing for right now. A friend who has been in holes like these, in times like these. Someone who knows the way out and will walk it alongside me. Howard Thurman was, for Martin, the sort of friend that jumps in the hole with you and shows you the way to freedom. Thurman wrote a book called Jesus and the Disinherited, and it's widely acknowledged as one of the foundational texts of liberation theology. It's said that King always carried a copy of it in his breast pocket, and he had it with him when he was jailed in Birmingham and elsewhere. There are so many ways we can walk alongside one another. I feel in my bones that these great teachers are still here among us, still leading, still guiding as we continue to work for justice and liberation. To remember them in community maintains their presence with us, their wisdom, and their tenacity. Now is the time for us to remember, to carry them along in our breast pocket, and to feel how, by our determination to do so, we are carried along in return. Dr. Vincent Harding was another of these great teachers, formed by the call and the community created in the fight for civil rights. In an episode of On Being, he was interviewed about his early experiences, and he related a particular memory that I find really illuminates this intersection of resistance and surrender and the balance of both that we're after. His story is conversational in tone, and it's full of the details that allow us to be a fly on the wall in the midst of it all. Dr. Harding offers us, "Whenever somebody jokes about kumbaya, my mind goes back to the Mississippi summer experience, where the movement folks in Mississippi were inviting coworkers to come from all over the country, especially student types, to come and help in the process of voter registration and freedom school teaching, and taking great risks on behalf of the transformation of that state and of this nation. There were 2 weeks of orientation. The first week was the week in which Schwerner and Goodman and their beloved brother Jimmy were there. And it was during the time that they had left the campus that they were first arrested, and then released, and then murdered. The word came back to us at the orientation that the 3 of them had not been heard from. Bob Moses, the magnificent leader of so much of the work in Mississippi, got up and told these hundreds of predominantly white young people that if any of them felt at this point that they needed to return home or to their schools, we would not think less of them at all, but would be grateful to them for how far they had come. But he said, let's take a couple of hours just for people to spend time talking on the phone with parents or whoever to try to make this decision and make it now. And what I found as I moved around among the small groups that began to gather together to help each other was that in group after group, people were singing Kumbaya. Come by here, my Lord. Somebody's missing. Come by here, we all need you. Come by here. And I could never laugh at Kumbaya moments after that because I saw then that almost no one went home from there. They were going to continue on the path that they had committed themselves to. And a great part of the reason why they were able to do that was because of the strength and the power and the commitment that had been gained through that experience of just singing together, Kumbaya. Thank you, Dr. Harding. I know I've dismissed that song before, and that there was a time when I thought singing was a frivolous form of surrender. But when it's paired with resistance, when these qualities and practices are alive relationally, I now know their combined power to be extraordinary, fortifying, life-giving. When Renee Good was killed last week, the protesting people of Minneapolis did not go home. Instead, more came out into the cold, walking alongside one another. They stayed on the path they had committed themselves to. And I don't know what they're singing, but I don't doubt that they are, that this is part of how they are summoning the courage to march on, that it's part of how they are keeping time together. Lifting our voices in song and feeling the solidarity of that shared expression. Come by here. See us in our grief. See us in our anger and in our longing. Come by here. See us in our not giving up. See our strength and vibrancy and willingness and urgency and full-throated, wholehearted belief that justice should prevail. Come by here. When the resistance is external, is happening outside of us in the big wide world with all of her problems, then we need internal spaces in which to surrender, collective practices like singing that allow for or invite our shared experience of surrender. And when the resistance is internal, then we need external spaces of surrender, like this sanctuary, and individual practices that encourage our growth and prompt reflection. In either instance, mutual trust and awareness will serve us well. One of our current authors, activists, and religious leaders, Zen priest Angel Kyoto Williams, has more hope for us. She describes the unique moment we inhabit and the challenge and possibility inherent in it. Angel offers, "We are at a time so incredibly unique in human history where there is a meaningful number of us that are not driven by mere survival. We are not defined by the work that we do or the place from which we come. We are able to be transient. We can move around places. We can create meaning out of things and ways of being and work that we choose to do. And we can recreate it over and over again. We are not defined by where we are or what we do." In the temptation to compare these hard days to hard days past, this is an interesting distinction, something to put our finger on or point to and notice what's different now, what's changed. We're not defined by where we are or what we do. Angel has yet more hope for us, she shares. "I think that if we can move our work, whatever work we're up to, whatever kind of desire that we have for our own development in life, to be willing to face discomfort and receive it as opportunity for growth and expansion and a commentary about what is now more available to us rather than what it is that is limiting us and taking something away from us, that we will, in no time at all, we will be a society that enhances the lives of all of our species. We will be in a society that thrives and knows that the planet must thrive with us. We will be in a society that knows that no one that is suffering is not an indicator of the ways in which the society itself is suffering. The tipping point is near. The world of justice and liberation that we've been longing for is coming. I see your steady willingness to face discomfort. I see you embracing opportunities for growth and expansion and encouraging others to do the same. I see the knowledge of our wholeness and our oneness and our thriving, building momentum in real time right before our eyes. We won't give up, but we can practice surrender and resistance in a balanced and relational way that makes it sustainable to live in and with this longing as we continue to work for a world transformed. May it be so. Amen, amen, ashe.